Hello friends, welcome to the first edition of Belfast in Conversation, brought to you by Image Nation NI. Today the topic of conversation is Indian classical dancing. Do men shy away from this magnificent art form? I am Suchitra Verma, a Bharatnatyam dancer and a teacher at Mudra Academy of Performing Arts, UK in Belfast. And with me, joining in this conversation are two eminent dancers from India, Mrs. Jyoti Reddy and Mr. Avijit Das.
Mrs. Jyoti Reddy is a Kuchipudi exponent, choreographer, artistic director and founder of Jyoti Kalakshetram School of Arts, Hyderabad, India. She has been giving Kuchipudi performances in many cultural and temple events like SVBC Nada Niranjanam at Tirupati. She was awarded with the title Natya Mayuri from the TTD cultural event in Tirupati. She's also been awarded with Nritya Ratna Award and the Mahatma Gandhi Memorial Award in 2017. Welcome, Jyoti ji. Mr. Avijit Das is also a Kuchipudi exponent. He was initiated into dancing by Srimati Sanak Biswas of Shantiniketan. He went on to do his diploma from Kalakshetra. He underwent training in Kuchipudi from Guru Sri Vempati Chinna Satyam and Srimati Manju Bhargavi. He has performed at various international dance festivals. He was conferred with the Natya Mayurim title by Nrityanjali Dance Festival. He is featured in the Inspired by India exhibition at Sotheby's, London. Welcome, Avijit ji.
Thank you so much, Suchitra ji.
So, Martha Graham, the great dancer, once said that dance is the language of the body, is the language of the soul. And I tell you, we Indians are very good at this language. Every occasion, every moment, every community, every region has its own language, has its own dance. In India, we have a vast repertoire of folk dances and classical dances. Now, folk dancing, is more of a community event, while classical dancing requires years and years of training and it follows a strict grammar and rules. So for all those who are uninitiated to classical dancing, Indian classical dancing, I'll just show you the different forms of classical dancing. So I'll just share the screen and you can watch this. So we have Bharatanatyam from Tamil Nadu. We have Odissi from Orissa, Kathakali from Kerala, Manipuri from Manipur, Satriya from Assam, Kuchipudi from Andhra Pradesh, Mohiniyattam from Kerala, and Kathak from UP. Jyoti ji, can you just give us a brief history of Indian classical dancing?
Sure, Suchitra ji. So the Indian classical dance, as per Hindu mythology, it is said that it is Lord Brahma who created the dance. Okay. And then he inspired sage Bharata Muni to write the Natya Shastra, which is a structured form of dance and drama. From there, it is basically, we also call Lord Shiva as the Lord of Dance because he started dancing Tandava, the masculine form of dance. And then when it comes to Indian classical dance, the people who originated this dance form are called Devadasis or temple dancers. They are usually the female dancers who are dedicated to dance in the temple festivals, and for their entire life they are dedicated for dance in the temples and the temple festivals for the deities. Okay, and they have special status also. And then after that we have when British people started ruling India, our classical dance, I mean, these temple dances or Devdasis, they started disappearing because a lot of temples got destroyed, and then people are not giving much importance or the priority for these dance forms in the temples, and then festivals. Also, they used to encourage the street dances. That's where the temple dances started disappearing. So it started from there. And then when it comes to, we do have, as you said, we do have different Indian classical dance forms. It is basically based on the lifestyle of the region. Like different states have different lifestyle. And then Puranas, history of the place. And then the dressing style, right? And then stories of the different gods. So based on these things, and then we have different famous dance forms. It is mostly 8 dance forms in India. So in Andhra Pradesh, it is Kuchipudi, is the traditional dance form. So that's where Indian classical dance history started.
Thank you, Jyoti ji. Avijit ji, would you like to add something to that?
Yes, of course. Like, it is wonderful to, like, we have 8 Indian classical dance at present, and there are a couple of them in pipeline to get recognized as well. So if you see the history, so Devadasis were commonly found in the most of the temples in Chola period. If you see, like, during the dynasty of the kings. And after the decline of Cholas and Pandavas kingdom, the political instability overshadows the entire southern region. So therefore, the Devdasi system faced the struggle of existence and the interlude of non-Hindu rulers, because we know that after Hindu king, there's the Mughals who came to southern India. So after that non-Hindu rulers further questions the system of the temple institution of Tamilikam. So if you see the Tamil Nadu or Tamilikam, because that's the entire southern region. And Amir Khusru even has mentioned that large quantities of wealth and jewels were carried away to the north. So due to the loss of patronage, many professionals, so if you see from whoever working in the temple, from the grassroots to the higher level, they were like unemployed at that point of time. And the entire workman suffered. The entire workman, whoever is working in the temples, they suffered from want to the misery, because they were very well reserved in the, like, well served in the temple, well taken care, I can say that way. So after the decline of Vijayanagara kingdom, the system also started to degrade from its nature. Like, the symptoms of the decline made their explicit appearance during the Nayaka period between 15th century, if you see. And then it, like, when the Mughals came or the Muslim kings came, so the whole scenario of the Devadasi system has changed at that point of time. And the importance of the temple institution is also changed, the frequent political interaction among the Devadasis. So because of the changes, all these changes, Devadasis were also started moving from one temple to the another temple. So they are not in a particular fixed in one temple. So they were moving from one temple to another temple. So all in between this distraction from their so-called secret principle, because Devadasis were called as a secret dancers. So they used to dance only for the god. So they were Devadasis. So Deva means, like, God, and the Dasis are the servants. So their secret principles of the divine service. So it's gone. And poverty were the few causes for the degradation of the entire system. So Devadasi system was going down after the, like, different kings or the period, they are going down. So during the colonial period, so Devadasis were stamped as prostitute in the society. So they are no more respected as a service or secret. So they were illustrated even outside of the temple institution, and they became the integral feature of the social life. And every important social occasion would not be complete without the presence of Devdasis. Even if you see in marriage also Devdasis used to go, even in southern India, certain places. So this was the history of Devdasis and the dances from the temple.
Yeah. Thank you, Abhijit. But I think what happened is that, like how you said, they were considered to be, the status declined and they were considered more of
Yes.
prostitutes. Yes. So, and I think people from good families or, the higher caste wouldn't have allowed them to learn dance, isn't it?
Yeah, they were the society in the society. The higher class people were never even allowed to even look at dance, because dance was due to colonization, the dance has been stamped as the prostitute. Only the prostitute will be dancing. Even if you see in Kathak, when Kathak was not so popular before it got it was popular, but it was not as respected as previously, right now.
Okay. And I think in there was a vast shift in the 1930s when Devi Arundel came and she decided to there was a big renaissance in Bharatanatyam, at least, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Established the Kalakshetra, and I think she encouraged, she changed the way how dance was perceived.
Yeah, absolutely, because she was a visionary. She has a vision of, that's why she has a vision of taking dance and looking at dance in a divine way. Even there are compositions of her choreographical work where she, even though there is a Sringara, so she made sure that Sringara is looking at in a very divine way, Sringara to the Lord. So there's always, all her choreography has divinity, if you see her choreographical work.
And I think that is what attracted the higher caste females, women to, learn dance. I think so, isn't it?
Yeah, she made sure that it is open for everyone, and she made sure that the dance has been respected in the society. She tried to create an atmosphere where dance has been respected. So that Kalakshetra was still alive, and people are still going to Kalakshetra and still learning. Yeah.
And so Jyoti ji, from like we were saying, then the higher caste girls started joining, learning Bharatanatyam. So even Kuchipudi, if I'm not mistaken, it was the Brahmin boys from the village who started learning first. Is that right?
Yeah, yes. In earlier days, it was only Brahmin men who used to learn, perform dance, but not the women, just because women are very restricted to even go out and, mingle with the society. A lot of restrictions were there for the women in olden days. That was one of the reasons. And then they don't allow women to go learn dance and perform on the stage. But slowly, earlier days only men used to learn, perform both the roles, male role and female role, with the costumes according to the role. And then now the trend is changing, because even now, we don't find more male dances. It is most of the female dances we see in classical dance. So because we are free to go learn, dance, perform.
Yeah. So Abhijit ji, so why do you think this trend of, because as Jyoti ji just said, that it was the male dancers who were doing Kuchipudi. So how did they go out of fashion? Why is it now not, why don't we have that many male dancers?
Actually, if you look at the history, there's all the male dancers, the Kuchipudi. Me being a Kuchipudi artist, I would like to even talk about the gurus. There's all the Agraharas, all of them were Brahmins, and all of them were from the Kuchipudi village, and they are the one who used to practice. So as an example, I would like to show you couple of gurus pictures, so you can see the history, how the Kuchipudi gurus were. So here you can see this. Okay, I think, is it visible right now?
It is,
yeah. So if you see this, the late Vempati Peda Satyam, Vempati Chinna Satyam, then PVG Krishna Sharma, all these people, even I will show you one more slide of picture. If you see, these are the great gurus like Parshumarthi Krishnamurti Garu. So all these people were like, ruling the Kuchipuri field. All of them were male. And that point of time, even as Jyoti ji said, that even the male dancers used to enact the female role. And one of them was Vedantam Satyanarayan Sharma Garu. He was so popular as Satyabhama, so people used to get confused. Sorry, I was like delayed in showing the picture. So this is a picture of Vedantam Satyanarayan Sharma Garu, who used to play. So he's a male. So you can see that he used to play as a Satyabhama, and people used to often get confused. So is he a male or a female? Because female were restricted, very restricted, due to so many circumstances, because it was not easy for female to travel from one village to different village. The security was the biggest issues at that point of time. Even though using washroom, there was no washroom. The male, it is much easier to go out. Majorly. So these are the reasons where female were restricted. But I would like to say that Lakshminarayan Shastri Garu in late 90s, he started going out of his village and started teaching all the different styles of dances. So he came, this is the picture of Vedantam Lakshminarayan Shastri Garu. So he came to Madras to even start teaching Kuchipuri to even Bharatanatyam dances. So you can see there's an interaction. The second picture below, you can see. So he's having an introduction with Bala Saraswati Guru. Bala Saraswati is a legend of Bharatanatyam. So they already have it, they're discussing at that point of time. There is a lot of inter-exchanges happening. So the dance scenario was very vibrant. I would suggest to I would like to tell. So and there was no restriction of gender. Absolutely, there was no restriction of gender, if you see. And there was a lot of learning, because Lakshminarayan Shastri Garu was very good in Abhinaya, and so there was a lot of discussion happen at that point of time. And he used to travel from not only in Madras, he traveled in a different villages to share his knowledge at that point of time. This is the history said. I haven't seen him personally, I must tell you, but this is the history said that he traveled, and they were traveling, and they were also working in the film industry. If you see, all these people were also working in the film industry and sharing their knowledge as a dance choreographer.
Yeah.
And right now, in India, so if we see, we all talk about the security, at the end of the day, how you're going to earn money out of it. There's the first preference comes. Yes. So how are you going to survive? This is the first question. The survival becomes the first question. So there is the biggest problem. So how do you make money with dancing? So I have been asked so many times. I would like to share a small story of mine. I was studying in Chennai, I was doing my dance course. I used to frequently travel to Chennai and come back. So during one of the journey, I was sitting next to a mid-60s couple, I should say. And then they asked me, which college you are going to? I said, I'm not going to any college. I'm going to learn from my guru. They said, oh, that's wonderful. So you are a classical dancer. That's wonderful. So did you finish your graduation, or are you still working in Bangalore? Because you live in Bangalore, is an IT hub. So are you working and then pursuing the dance? Then I said, no, dance is my full-time profession. So they said, oh, that's then how do you survive? So do you earn money out of it? So it was very difficult for them to believe that we can sustain and we can survive, even though this is not a fixed income we get out of every month. There's no exact number that comes to your account. Absolutely no. But I think that plays a very big role in Indian society, I should say. And it is not only me. I think so many male dancers have came across very similar stories like this, that they have been asked as okay, son, you are learning, that's a very good, but what you do for your livelihood? That is a very common line, has been picked up for so many other dancers as well. So I think that is why when we see there is no security of earning money or certain number coming to our account, so we choose to go in a certain very secure or secular, like, job where we can earn money out of like it. And we have the dance going on to, like, similarly in the other hand, there are so many dancers. I know my friends, they are working in the IT industry, and at the same time they're pursuing, they're teaching dance, they're doing it. So my suggestion is to like, the dancers, like, I know so many dancers who is also working very hard to, like, sustain. And if you see the scenario from before and right now, there's a huge gap in between. There are not chunk of people, chunk of male dancers who are not learning dance, but right now scenario has been changed. In my generation, there are so many male dancers, like, I can, and it's not only one, there are multiple, like, styles male dancers are dancing, and they're very good. If you see Kathak, there are absolutely stunning Kathak dancers, like, male dancers are really, really that, because see, I can see a generation gap in between the gurus and today's generation. There's a generation gap where dance was not so popularized by male, like, not so many male dancers were dancing. Very handful good popular dancers were countable, because the dance was very countable, because Indian classical dance. And right now you see that so many male dancers, so many shows, so many festivals are all over the places are happening. I hope Jyotiji will also agree with me in that context, because there is a generation, there is a gap in between the gurus and now like, today's generation. That time there was not much male dancers, but right now you see there are a lot of male dancers coming up and taking up dance as a full-time profession.
Actually, Jyotiji, even you were a software engineer, isn't it? You were in the IT profession and you moved. Am I right?
That's true. I was in IT profession for 12 years. And then from last 2 years, I'm permanent. I mean, full-time into dance profession. I had quit my job and then started my school.
Right. So, I mean, what made you do that? Why? Because as Avijit said, dance is not maybe not as rewarding financially as IT, or more stable. So,
Yeah, that is true, because dance was my childhood wish. So I could learn when I was small. So because I was born and brought up in a small village, I couldn't find any guru, so I couldn't learn. So I started learning dance along with my daughter. So I was 32 that time. So, and then I was working in IT field. I did my engineering and then MS software systems from BITS Pilani. I was completely in software background. So when I started learning at 32, and then in 4 years, I did, with complete dedication, I have practiced and then learned, and then I have decided, I got the full confidence that I can be a professional dancer instead of just learning as a, activity. So I got that confidence, and then I started performing outside. I got the good response, so that developed more confidence in me, and then it was like it's a feeling like I have achieved something. No, my dream was like fulfilled. So, but when I was working in software, it's very hard to get leaves and then time even to practice, to attend classes, for rehearsals. So it's like hectic job in software industry. Even mentally, it's a hectic job. Apart from the timings, I used to come home at 9 p.m., leave early, and then even once we reach home, we have to focus on the work. It's a lot of stress. So that stress I couldn't, tolerate, because I wanted to focus more on dance. Because when I got that confidence, I wanted to focus more on dance. I couldn't do that. So with that reason, I was like poking my husband that I want to leave the job and stay in dance completely, do more practice, more performances. So, but my parents, my family members, my husband, they didn't allow me to quit the job, because I used to make a huge money in software industry, about a lakh per month. But I couldn't do that. So what I did was, I did not tell any of my family members. I have resigned my job. So 2 months, we have notice period, 2 months after that. In that 2 months, I try to establish my school, because I know I need to make some money, at least some little money to survive the basic needs, right? So if not, I'm getting 1 lakh rupee per month, at least the basic thing I have to make,
Yeah.
right? So for that reason, I wanted to start a school, but I had a plan to start school in my village because I know how I wanted to learn when I was small. So that opportunity I wanted to give to the village kids because we don't find any dancers or gurus in the village environments. In my site, there, I know in my native place. So I had that plan, but when I quit the job, my plan was just to make the basic money, focus on the my self practice and my performances. I wanted to, give more performances, get some identity as a dancer, as a classical dancer. That was my dream that time. So I have resigned my job. And then I got PF, gratuity, whatever in some bulk amount. So with that money, 2 years I have survived, though I didn't get any other income. And last day of my working day, I told my husband, I informed my husband that today is my last day in office. So I got good scoldings though. But fortunately, my school is like, I have around 100 plus students now. So that is one thing. But income, when it comes to the income, it is obviously I see the difference. So that is different lifestyle. This is different lifestyle. But when you are enjoying your dance,
That is the difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
The passion.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would like to pitch in one sentence
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Jyotiji's. But there are scopes of earning money in the even in the dance fraternity. If you see, if you can, like in an academic way, if you go, like you can be a lecturer or a professor. There are a lot of universities in India and abroad. Like even in India, I can have 100 universities. Even in Bangalore, I can see there are Jain universities where is a post of a dance professor lecturer. So you can also join, even if you want to earn money out of it, you can also join in that, into the field of teaching. Like you can go to academic and you can work as a full-time dance professor or lecturer. You have Banaras Hindu University, we have Shantiniketan University, we have Vishwabharati University. We have so many universities in India where there is a faculty of for dance teacher, and there are vacancies. Even in people they don't want to go right now. The established teacher in the cities, because they are so comfortable. They have so as Jyotiji said, she has 100 students. So today is 100, maybe tomorrow it will be 200. As an example, I'm taking. So think when you getting students and it is not stable. You don't know those 100 students will be there or not in the next month. But at the same time, it is coming. It is falling into the place. And the best thing, I feel you follow your passion as a full-time profession. That's the luckiest thing, and I think we all can ask for. There are so many. I think Jyotiji, I really hats off to you, because you are in peak of your career and you left the job to just follow your passion and put it in a bring it to full-time profession. That's really challenging, and I really hats off to you for that.
Thank you.
And yes, Jyotiji, you're quite an inspiration, because usually females in India are like, oh, once they're married, their kids, everything just goes, no dance, nothing. And it's always, it's all in the head, all in our heart, and nothing actually are able to do it. So that is a really good example.
Always in the head, because I was like, after my marriage, so I was completely in the hostel when I was in college or university. I was in the women's college, so we don't have option to go out and learn. When I was in Tirupati, it is a town. There are dancers and teachers to learn, but they are not allowed to go out of the campus to learn. So that time also I tried, but I failed. And then after the marriage, when I came to Hyderabad, I asked my husband immediately the first day, because I'm in city, can I learn dance at least in my office hours? So my husband was like, you have to take approval from the in-laws. So I was a bit shy to go and talk to my in-laws about this thing. They may think something bad. So I kept quiet, but from my, I did a lot of Google and then browsed for nearest gurus who can teach during the lunch time. So from office, I can go 1 hour and learn. I found few dancers, few gurus, famous gurus near my office. And then I went there during lunchtime only. I took the break. So the 1 hour, 1.5 hour break we take for lunch. So that time I went and then contacted them. She said, "Are you mad? Is there any dancer can learn dance at the lunchtime in the afternoon timings? We don't teach like that." She was like bit rash to me, and then I felt bad. I thought, okay, it's not possible now. And then when my daughter was born, I asked my husband, I'll put my daughter in the dance. So he's happy for that. We both went to the dance school to my Gurus Rajaradha Reddy and then their daughter Yamini Reddy. So the first day when I went there, along with my daughter to put her in the class, I was watching the students practicing in the class. So again, I couldn't stop myself. And then I went inside and asked my guru, can I also learn along with my daughter, but I don't want to tell my family members. So they are like happy and they said, yeah, why not, you can dance. So after a few days, I informed my husband, he is also like, yes, happy. You can learn. He thought it's like, just like an activity she's learning. So it's like activity he was thinking, but I have taken it seriously and it went into different directions later.
So just coming back to our topic, Abhijit ji, you mentioned that earlier the gurus, there were a lot of male dancers, and now the new generation also, there's this in-between generation that didn't have that, very...
That is my personal feeling. There is a
Yes,
gap of generation.
and I agree with you. So you tell me, so what was your inspiration because to get into dancing? Because for you, there wouldn't have been many, visible role models.
My inspiration, started from my home itself. My grandfather was a theater artist and he was a dancer in the theater that in West Bengal, the theater called Jatra. So after the Jatra, in every scene, there used to be one solo piece. And this is very similar to our Kuchipudi Yakshagana in southern India. Even Kuchipudi Yakshagana, the Kuchipudi solo dance tradition has been introduced. Between the solo dance pieces used to perform between the Yakshaganas, the same. So the same way we have this, there are a lot of similarities in Jatras and Yakshagana. So my grandfather was one of them who used to perform in the Jatra as a solo number in between the scene. And he used to perform keeping pot above his head, like, he was very popular for keeping 7, 8 pots. So there used to have a competition of who can raise the more number of pots in their head. So he was very popular for that. Though I haven't seen him, that the story comes from my grandmother, because he left his job in the hospital. He was working in the hospital and he left the job to follow his passion. I think those stories was very inspiring to me, that my grandfather even. So I think that inspired me very much. And definitely my gurus were the biggest inspiration. Is not only one. I think even from my Kalakshetra days to Kuchipudi Art Academy to Manju Bhargavi, even my guru Kishore Muslikanti Garu, even Padmabani Muslikanti Garu. So they were my biggest inspiration. My gurus are always inspired me in a very different way to to continue dancing.
Now, I just, when I was just researching, I just found out that even in Western classical dancing, like ballet, they have a lot of male performers. Okay, but they also face quite a lot of problems, and there's a stigma. So I was just reading that Doug Reisner, leading dance researcher and a professor at Wayne State University in Detroit, found that 96% of men who have studied dance have been targets of teasing, name calling, and verbal abuse. 70% have reported verbal and or physical harassment. 34% have experienced verbal threats or threatening behavior, and 16% have reported physical harm or injury. So this is not, is the scene there. So do you think, is there something like that in India? Have you faced anything, any sort of negativity, any sort of bullying, Mr. Abhijit ji?
You brought me back to my story, I'm thinking. So it is not that old, but it's really so fresh. Yes, I did. And people try to sabotage me in every possible ways. But my parents, as I said, my parents were extremely supportive. They're my backbone. So every time, if I face some issues, they have supported me and they made me realize how beautiful this art form. Just don't let go because of some couple of people teasing you, saying all sorts of things, trying to check even I am a male or female. It went to that extent. Even, but I would say, I would tell you, I was very lucky. On the other hand, that my school teachers were very, very supportive. Because I was a male dancer, so I was always got a privilege to be in the front row for every cultural shows. They were very proud of me, that like, till date, I get a call from my school teacher. So even if I'm all right, what I'm doing, wherever I go, they try to like, check in my social media, and they're very proud. I think once in a year when I go, they try to like, put me in front row and say that like, this is how dance can be like, taken up as a full-time profession. But I should tell you that 10 years back when I was so young, because when I thought of dance taking up as a full-time profession, there was not much opportunities. Absolutely
Yeah.
no. I just jumped into the ocean and tried to see, because I and I try to see how I can like, survive, because for me the survival was the biggest challenge for me, because I come from a very lower middle class family. So for me to survive and is a big challenge. But eventually when I started like, coming to like, step by step from Shantiniketan and travel to Kalakshetra, I was a scholarship holder in, I got a scholarship for 4 years with a merit scholarship. I finished my diploma in Kalakshetra. So slowly, I saw the like, the large scenario of dance. Then I realized dance has a lot, huge thing. Like, you can, when you're a dancer, dance is not only one thing. You can be a choreographer, you can work as a full-time choreographer in different dance companies. You can be a full-time teacher, like, and as a guru, you can do a lot of choreographies and work as a full-time teacher. You can be a full-time performer, because these are all full-time jobs. These are all full-time jobs. Even though we are very like, smart, we handles our school, we work as an administrator, we work as a guru, we work as our own like, publicity person, we work as our own PR, we write the email. So I did not know that these other things is also possible. So coming to your point, facing teasing, yes, I have faced a lot of teasings till date. There are people who look down to me in a different way, like, okay, why is dancing, like, people. And the other hand also, I see a lot of people look up to me in a very respectful way. So I take up the other hand, because at least I feel because of me, this whole scenario in change in my still little hometown, and there are a lot of every small little boys goes to dance class.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, like, they go to dance class. Even they will take up or not,
Yeah.
I don't know, but they at least they do it. So
So it's not a taboo anymore. It's not.
it's not taboo
Yes,
anymore. If you
that
see
is that is.
today's generation, there's how many male dancers, how
Yeah.
many, you can see a lot of. So even though there are taboos, we know how to like, overcome to, and like, follow our passion and make it to full-time profession.
Jyotiji, as a teacher yourself, have you seen your students, your male students, facing such problem? Have they come and talked to you about that?
Not much. I have very few male students, but when they go out, obviously there are few other kids who try to tease them, like you're walking like a girl. Why do you keep mudras like girl? So the expressions, so those kind of things are there. And one more experience that I do have is after I resigned my job and before I start my school, few months, I think 3-4 months, I worked for one international school as a head of the department for the dance department for 5 branches of the school. There, I used to take a few classes for the Kuchipudi for all the higher grade students. It's for both boys and girls. So there, when I used to teach Kuchipudi, the posture, sitting, whatever we do have, the boys usually, most of the boys, even the girls, because most of them are into Western culture and trend now, they used to is me even like what is the mudra for Susu, toilet, 1, 2, and then when we teach Aramandi, they call, why do you have to sit like as if you are sitting in the toilet? You can just stand and dance. So those kind of things are really horrible to bear, but I used to give them in a nice way. But it comes from the family also, how you mold the kids. You have to teach the values, morals of these classical art forms. That comes from the family background also. See, for example, if my kids or some other kids, though my son is not learning dance, classical dance, but he goes to school. Whenever teacher asks something, he'll tell about classical dance only for small competitions, whatever it is. So even teacher asked me, how do you, how is that your son answers most of the classical dance related information? Because I'm a dancer, he knows. So he says, my mother is a good dancer. I love classical dance, such things. So it comes from the family, how you have to
Yeah.
the art forms, classical art forms, because it needs a little bit of divinity also, the values and morals. So that is there, that part is there, but it is within us, which part you have to take, which thing you have to ignore.
You're right. Yeah.
Those things are there always.
Even
What
now,
is
because of,
funny, the
sorry.
male students or dancers, whoever is into the dance, they don't bullyify or tease other dancers, because they know that
Yeah.
it's only the outside.
So I was just saying, even now, because of lockdown and I can't have my classes here in Belfast, so I have my Zoom classes. So while I'm taking my classes, my son will be sitting and doing his homework or something, and every day teaching the mudras. He knows all the mudras now, so he's too shy to come and show it or anything. And if I say, "Come on, why don't you also try and show me?" He will not, but he knows it all. So I think you're right. The atmosphere at home makes a lot of difference. So even my son doesn't want to dance. It doesn't matter whichever form of dance. He's more into sports, but he understands, and like when we were talking about, okay, this, we're going to have a conversation, and generally, we were talking about male dancers, and he's like, it doesn't matter if you're a male or a female, you just have to dance. If you like, you should dance. So I was like, okay, so that is good. It's changing. You can, yeah, because my daughter is always dancing. So for her the challenge is more Western or Indian, because staying abroad, it's very easy. I mean, it's very tough to go into Indian classical dancing and to sustain that, because I think that's the challenge we are facing here, especially because we are not, even though we are part of UK, we are quite a small town. So, and we don't have as many opportunities to, learn and perform as in London or, or in the US. So it's quite a small place here. You've been here, isn't it, Jyoti? So
Yeah.
it's quite a small thing. And generally people want to see more of cinematic Bollywood dancing. So as a youngster, as an Indian youngster growing in Belfast, it's quite a tough task on them, because they are bombarded with so many things, Western and, the TikTok and everything. And then we are forcing them to learn classical dancing, and then, but their friends, or everybody want to do Bollywood dancing. So it's quite a different, challenge here. And even I don't have any male boys coming to learn classical dancing with me. So I don't know. I hope things change here too. That's what even I'm hoping. So, Jyoti, you were saying that you're having a school. You're building a school in your town, isn't it? Hometown. So, but you're already having classes there as of now?
Yeah, we started classes in my village about 6 months back. So at the moment, I used to take the classes in other government school.
Okay.
The place I have taken from the government school. Only on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I used to take classes. Every month, I used to travel from Hyderabad to my village. It's like a 10 hours from Hyderabad to village, 10 hours drive. So now, because of the lockdown, I closed the classes. But I'm building the campus, the school in my village within my own premises, my place. So that will be ready in 1 or 2 months. So the construction work is going on. So this school is mostly service oriented. So the fee will be 100 rupees for few kids, and then free for few of them. It is up to them. They can pay or they can skip. So not compulsory. It's like service oriented because I wanted to help the village background kids to learn this art because we don't have such opportunity in my village areas, even surrounding areas. So that was
And do you
my,
get and do you have more boys coming in the village than the city?
yes, I have more boys in the village than the city here in Hyderabad. In Hyderabad, I have only 2 boys out of 100 plus students. I have only 2 boys in Hyderabad. And then in village, I have nearly 20 students, 20 boys. And then I have around 80, 90 girls in the village.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And when you're teaching, do you make any conscious change in the way you teach when you're teaching boys and girls? Is there any difference?
The basic stuff is common for everyone, for girls and boys, so the basic techniques and technologies. But when it comes to few, the styles like walking style, expressions, so that kind of things I teach them. So boys present like this, like a boy can dance like a boy, right? So I tell them these things. So few mudras also I change, like the walking style also I change the mudra, how to keep the mudra, how to walk like a boy, like a man. So those differences I teach them, but the most of the basic techniques, it is common for everyone. They should know both styles for man, for male and female, because when they want to teach further in, so they should know the differences. But when they present the male roles, they present it like a boy. So even sometimes, even the girl, they present male-oriented roles and then female-oriented roles. They should know the difference. Yeah. I teach them both.
What about you, Abhijit? I mean, because you also have a dance school of yourself,
Yes, I do.
Academy, isn't it, in Bangalore?
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you change your teaching style, and how do so because you as a male dancer, the way you teach, does the your female students, I mean, how does that work, like the way of teaching?
The way of teaching is like, definitely female has the extra grace. No, I should not say extra grace. It's a natural grace what they have. Then we have to reduce when it comes to the male body. So you have to restrict, because when I dance like the way I dance. And then I ask them to do little bit of here and there that should little bit like, touch their grace, like that aspect of it. And for male body, because I am male dancer, so my male students definitely try to copy me. So there is no such change that I have to make for them. But for definitely, even my school, the ratio of female dancers are more than the male dancer. I only have 3 male dancers so far. And they come from a very different stories or background to learn. So definitely, because a dancer should be trained in a male character and also a female character. So they should get trained how to portray when they have to portray Shiva or Hiranyakashipu or any character, bigger character. So a female should be very well versed. A female body should be very well trained to play those characters, and also a male should be very well trained to play the female character.
Right. So now, what do you think? How has the styles of Kuchipudi dancing changed through the years? Because I think the male and female roles were all done by the males, and they used to dress up as females, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it?
Yeah.
And but Avjiji, when you are dancing, what is it similar, or do you do? How is that?
I think to have a little more clarity of the questions is that you mean to say when I started dancing, even the male were doing female role. Not those
and dressing
gurus
up also as female, isn't it?
Yeah, dressing up as a female, as I showed you the slide of our Vedantam Satyanarayana Sharma Garu. So that the whole scenario over there was different. Why male used to do female role? Because of the so many different reasons for the society to protect the female from the outside world, and all those things were there were practical reason for not doing it. But today's generation also, there are male dancers who do female Stree Vesham. It's called the term called Stree Vesham. There are dancers who does this Trivesham. Even you can see a very, and I must say, I really look up to this male dancer called Venku Anaya. So he's very good in one aspect of doing a Hiranyakashipu, who is a bigger role, and at the same time, the other half of the show he can do Satyabhama. He can dress up like a female. So that's the quality of a dancer I aspire to be. But I don't think today's generation it is much needed. I personally feel, because we have to create much more larger male repertoire for attract the male dancer to come and do more number on shivas, more choreographies on the solo repertoire, and that aspect I feel that is my personal feelings and personal opinion.
Yeah, so I mean, do you think there is difficulty in getting solo performances for male artists in the present?
Yes, it is hard, but not as difficult if you see a decade back, because right now there are a lot of male dancers that even creating their own festivals to even
Yes.
support other male dancers. To be honest, I never faced that issues of I have been thrown out for a female dancer and been replaced by some female dancer. No, I haven't. Even though I was fortunate to be part of a festival called Shivargyam, which was curated by Padma Bhushan Sarja Vaidyanathan ji. She's the one who curated the festival, and that was held in Delhi. So 30 male dancers performed throughout the day, all the male dancers, and it was followed by felicitating male gurus. There was a felicitation by the male gurus. So if you ask me, I think, as I said, the decade back, the scenario was changed, and now the dance is still growing and is changing very fast. We are in a generation of social media. So if I'm not getting shows, as an example, or somebody else is not getting our shows, then we are creating our own platform. Because if I am not, I can choreograph a piece and I can put it in social media. If somebody likes it, and they'll be watching it. So I think that scenario has been changed. I think Jyoti ji, you will also agree with me. I think Jyoti ji and me, we got in touch with one of our My Dance videos, and we started talking, we started discussing. So see, Jyoti ji we never met as a person. We know we're in the same field, but we never knew. But we know each other through social media. Looking at my dance, I have seen her dance. So as I said, the scenario is changing, and is changing drastically. So.
Yeah, so I think the tools of modern society are quite a leveler, isn't it? So it's helping bridge the gender gap. So I guess at this point, if we talk about why are men shying away, maybe it's time to change. It's not men maybe are not shying away in this generation. They are they're more open to the idea of dancing, isn't it? From talking to you, I feel that men are more open at this moment to trying out Indian classical dancing. I think it's been even in like you were saying, even in social media, there's quite a lot of videos of male dancers, and it's quite popular, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it? So I think I'm sure things are changing, and so what do you think as an audience? How should we change as a Rasika? How should we start thinking? What do you think, for the general audience? How to adapt to this situation? What do you think, Jyoti ji?
So for the general audience, it's like they should see the dancer as a character of the story, not as a dancer. See, if the dancer is playing a male role, like as a Krishna or Shiva, I should see him as a Krishna or Shiva, not as a dancer. Whether it's a male woman dancer can do a Krishna role. I did few of Krishna items with the Krishna costume, kirita, everything. So as an audience, you should see the dancer as a character, not as a dancer. And then it is a dancer who creates that emotion, the rasa in the audience, the feeling of that character. So it is the dancer who creates the rasa, but for the audience, you should see them as a character, not as a dancer. That is a more important.
Abhijit ji, what would you say? And how the audience also has to change, and even as a male dancer, you are changing the repertoire, as you mentioned before, isn't it?
Yes, so I think we have to understand where exactly we're dancing in the first place. When you are an artist, what kind of audience we're catering to. Like, you know, it's very important for a dancer to understand the pulse of our audience. It's very important. We cannot have a very traditional repertoire when you're performing for non-Indian people who doesn't absolutely have no idea who's Lord Krishna is, who Lord Vishnu is, who is Lord Shiva. So if you don't talk about your subject, because it's very important, I'm not like, you know, going away of the subject of Indian mythology, but at the same time, we also need to educate our audience to understand what we're trying to do. That means we need to talk about the piece which we're trying to do. So when you talk about Shiva or Lord Vishnu or Lord Shiva, maybe for certain people certain people can relate to it because they have heard the name somewhere some time back. But the people who don't know, they can see the character as a person. So it's very important for us to educate our audience. So like I'll suggest, so when the students comes to you, so train everybody. Don't expect that all of them has to be like a professional dancer. So whatever the training they get, you're creating an spectators or the audience, because they will be able to appreciate the dance, our Indian like, you know, classical dance. So when we can create that atmosphere of like, you know, creating audience for ourselves, then we can see slowly people are coming to our performances.
Yeah. Yes, and so the other thing I was going to ask, when you are performing as a male dancer, do you take, you know, what changes have you made in the makeup or the way you dress, and how does that play in your mind, how you do?
See, when I'm a male dancer, I have to really think of my physical appearance, which is very important. So I put very minimal makeup. I cannot put really too much of makeup. I prefer to go to very minimal makeup. But again, it depends on where exactly I'm dancing. If I'm doing a chamber concert, so I'll be putting very minimal makeup because the audience will be like, you know, 2 feet away sitting next to you almost when it comes to chamber concert. But when you're performing in an open arena or when you perform in a concert hall, it's just a huge hall with lots of lights, so your makeup has to be really elaborate, otherwise you cannot reach like not the last audience who is sitting in the hall. So it depends, as like it's not fixed way of you do makeup. So makeup should be changed according to the place where you're performing, and the repertoire how I choose is depend on where I'm performing. Absolutely, because even sometimes what happens, the organizers also go through a lot of rounds of discussion. Suppose if it is in outside of India, as an example, I can tell you, when I was performing in Sydney last year, Sydney International Dance Festival, the organizers, we had 3 rounds of like, you know, conversation. What exactly should be presented? Because the organizer know the pulse of Australian people, that audience, that particular audience, they knows what kind of audience they get it. And because they have to sell the tickets and like, you know, so I send them, these are the list of items I'm willing to, because I think it will be good from my side, because I always will think, or as a dancer, always will think from the dance perspective, the love of the item which you love, because there are certain items which are very close to us. We feel that should be presented all the time because I like this item. But the case is not always the same. So the organizer also play a big role in certain aspects, because we also need to give respect to them in terms of, because they know the audience, they are the one who's selling the tickets. They're not telling you to do something fusion, but they're telling you which are the items people will like it. So like that we can change in a certain aspect. I do it. I personally, from my perspective, I said I do it. And also when I performed in New York a couple of years back, like 2 times, so I also this has the same things, like, you know, how many, what are the items, because you have to send them your work video, so they will look at your work and they said, like, you know, can we change in this way, can we have this item after that item, so then we can flow the entire show this way. So they have very clear vision of how the show should flow. So I think it is hand to hand go, because you are also like, you know, being supported by the organizer at the same time when you go out of India to perform. And in India, you get the complete liberty of whatever you want to do, however you want to put yourself. in front of the audience.
So this is more of, I think this would apply to both males and female dancer, isn't it? So it's more of the dancer and the audience dynamic, isn't it? So even if you're a female dancer, you still have to think of all of this when you're performing, isn't it? About the audience and, you know, what is best suited.
Yeah.
So Abhijit, you mentioned your favorite, you said your favorite piece. So what is your favorite piece?
Oh, I have couple of them, because when I perform one item for a couple of times, I become that becomes very familiar to me, and I like it. But my all-time favorite, I think, Dashavatara Shabdam, which is very challenging, and I always there are a couple of items. One is Dashavatara Shabdam, as I was talking about. Then Kolubaiti Varangasai, which is has the most number of views in my the channel. I think people came to know through that Kolubaiteva video, and it was over 1 lakh views I had. Yeah, so I think that is my very all-time favorite, and even definitely my Guru's choreography, Kishore Anna's choreography, Alokesh Sri Balakrishnan, that is my very, very close to me. I think I have performed 30-40 times the same item.
And what about you, Jyotiji? What is your favorite item to perform?
Yeah, my favorite pieces are Dashavataram was my best, my favorite piece, the first one, and then I like Krishna Shabdam because which has more of grace and abhinaya that suits for me. So Krishna Shabdam, and then few of Ganapati Vandana items. So Tarangam also is my favorite piece.
We had in Belfast, we've had the opportunity to watch your Tarangam and your Dashavataram. Yeah, so it was nice. And I think now we in Belfast should get an opportunity to watch you also, Vijitji. I think we have to
Of
somehow
course, yeah.
and maybe both of you again, so it will be actually really nice. So I think this was a really good conversation, and you have told us about generally how, as a male, the male perspective in the dance. So do you think, are there any, generally any challenges that the male dancers have to face, will be facing in the future? Or what sort of, what?
See, irrespective of gender, I think the Indian classical dance is facing issues which I feel is bringing audience, and the audience to pay for our tickets to watch the show. So we need to understand one thing, that basically a common man come to the concert not to get a discourse which is very serious. Yeah? So they come for some kind of entertainment, to relax, and that's where we go to a particular performance. So I feel if we see the history in the history of Kuchipudi practitioner, could actually pipeline into such a way or such a fashion that it reaches your audience, and discourse is also not diluted. So they create a whole dance drama in a way. So the whole discourse also, the whole message has to be passed, but at the same time it is not so serious, like every time it is not so serious way of dancing. So we need to keep that in mind, and that's why I think in between, if we see that I was talking about the Sutradharas and all those funny characters comes in between. There are a lot of characters who comes and tell their storytelling, and then they go out, and then there's a lot of people enacting that story. So if we can keep it little more light and relevant, that is very important. If we keep the topic very relevant, that we can connect to it. So we need to, first thing we need to understand that we need to connect to our audience. If there is a huge gap of connection between the audience and the dancer or the performer, then it's very difficult, because we cannot expect that all the audience should be very well learned to come and watch. Then we are targeting only a secular, set of group of people that can only come and watch my performance. But if we are looking for a larger perspective, or like a common man to come and watch our dance, I feel it will be wonderful. It's my personal opinion. I'm not telling that we all have to do it. It's my personal opinion that if I can create a subject or create in a way that I can connect to common man, I think people will enjoy it. Why not? Because if cinema can be so popular, which came after Indian classical dance and took out the entire market, because if you see, Indian classical dance was the only one entertainment media at that point of time. People used to go to temple to watch dance, and that was the one entertainment media. Through that, they used to gain knowledge as well. So if that cinema can come after Indian classical dance and take over the entire entertainment industry. So we need to find out our own way to create a market for ourselves, and I think we are doing it. I think there are a lot of dancers who are doing it very well, and there are a lot of viewers, that there are a lot of people who are coming and buying tickets and to watch the festival, watch any artist performance. As an example, I can tell you that recently I did a festival from my school that we are able to sell 500 tickets.
Very nice.
Yeah, so it happened, and it was not happening, if you see, it was happening in a couple of sabhas or couple of festivals, like particular festivals, but not in this way. Because right now, not only me, I think so many other dancers are also trying to do a festival to create the awareness of the Indian classical dance, that people can come and at least appreciate what is happening.
Thank you, Gigi. And Jyoti ji, any last words? Yeah.
Most of the things, as Avjit said, we should create the awareness in the audience as well, and we should create the interest in the audience and in common people, because most of the people are now they're showing more interest on movies and other entertainment things, not on the classical dance. But it is we dancers, and then the government should also give some support to the artists, to create this kind of performances, events, paid programs for the artists, and then create the interest in the people. So that will help saving our art. That is the main thing.
I think the one thing that after this conversation I realized that that at this in this generation, or the social media has made it a very leveling playing field. It's more of who is the better dancer than is it a male dancer or a female dancer, isn't it? So now the social media has made it open to everybody. Everybody can show their art, and it's always the best who will be taken. So I think at this point the gender gap is actually quite reducing, and I'm sure we'll see more and more male dancers. And I hope they won't have to face the stigma and all the challenges that Avjit you faced, or the all the other male dancers who have faced before. But I think it's on quite a positive note we can end that. I don't think there's going to be a dearth of male dancers. I'm sure we're going to get a lot more very wonderful male dancers, and of course female dancers. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jyoti ji and Avjit ji, for this wonderful conversation. Thank you. For everybody.
Thank you, Suchitra ji, for inviting me, and it was lovely having conversation with all of you, and I hope we'll all enjoy. And thank you so much.
Thank you.